Hey guys, wanted to get on here. If you're not part of the channel, share, subscribe, like this video. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Make sure you put your prayer request in the bottom. Sorry I have not been able to get the emails. I'm working double shifts. My patient just had her second surgery, so I have just not had the time to do anything. And right now I'm trying to beat a storm because this storm is starting to get bad here. I wanted to get on. There's so much news coming out that I thought was pretty interesting, and this was coming from Hal Turner. It says all sources inside Russia have gone dark. Largest submarine sails with Poseidon nuclear torpedoes, which we all know what those things are. They go under the water. They can lit. And I didn't know this about these Poseidon missiles. If they wanted to, they can go up to the shore of the East Coast, drop them off, and leave. Go to the southern part, leave, put them on the West Coast, leave. And they could be there for days, and then they detonate. They don't have to be, they could be long gone and already back to Russia before those things. And they create what they said about a 1,500 foot wave of nothing but let's get this word out. Radiological water. I'll get it out eventually. Hillbilly. Big words don't go very well with me. It says here, a very troubling situation has developed inside Russia this morning, June 26, 2023. All my intel sources have either gone dark or told me that they have to go dark immediately. Apparently, anyone who expressed support for Prigozhin rebellion is being rounded up or turned off violently. More interestingly, Russia's largest submarine, the Belgorod K-329, set sail from the Arctic port of, can't say that word, along with a support ship, and neither is that. Me and my Russian, not very good. The support ship is associated with the testing of the Poseidon intercontinental nuclear-powered, nuclear-armed, autonomous torpedo. The sailing of the two vessels together, plus other signs observed, may indicate that the Poseidon test launch is imminent. I don't even know how you would test one of these things. The question becomes, is it a test or will it be live? The Poseidon torpedo is autonomous. It can be programmed to travel almost anywhere in the world. Silently take a position off a coastline at a depth of 1 to 2 miles and wait undetected and undetectable. As at a pre-programmed time, it can detonate or scramble its scalable 100 megaton nuclear torpedo, creating radioactive tsunamis that takes out the entire coastline of an adversary. In some areas, a tsunami would come on shore about 1,500 foot tall waves of radioactive water, knocking down entire cities and leaving them covered in a radioactive flood that would make the area uninhabitable for decades. The submarine carries 6 such Poseidon torpedoes. I could place one off the east coast of the UK, travel across the Atlantic, place one more off the US East Coast, and then travel down to the Gulf of Mexico, place another, and leave the US West Coast to a typical Russian submarines. None of us would have any idea at all that anything was wrong, and then suddenly, boom, all them go off at once. The US and UK would be completely crippled, immediately wiping out NATO. And like I tell you, do not fear, okay? I always preach it to you guys. We'll be long gone, okay? So we're just getting close to getting out of here. You know, we don't teach fear here because Jesus isn't fear. We don't have to fear that stuff. But what we do is go over the stuff to let everybody know how close we are. The news is coming out that relates to what we're talking about. Okay, so that was out. Let's see what else. NATO changes status to combat. Jane Stoltenberg announced this morning that NATO will change the status of its Air Force mission for the protection of the skies of the Baltic states to combat. Previously said the status was air police. The so-called air police control the space above the Baltic states and are considerably a military mission without combat mandate. NATO fighters will be able to participate in hostiles and integrated into defensive plans. In addition, the German defense minister said that his country intends to deploy additional 4,000 troops to Lithuania on a long-term basis. Elsewhere, the USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier battle group popped up this morning in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. with 100 kilometers off the Syria and Ukraine. When in the last time we had our largest aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean Sea, it's been a while. Seasoned observers are saying NATO is preparing for things to go hot in either Odessa or Belarus, as I told you, with a sting in Syria for Russia as well. So all these things, like I said, there's so much right now coming out. The Russian thing is not going to die down. There's a lot of stuff happening over there, a lot of pieces moving, including NATO. And like I told you, when all this stuff happens, it will happen fast. You won't see it coming. Now, the rapture is going to be the same way. It's very quick, and it's very sudden. We get pulled, and then all this stuff happens. So when I'm talking you won't see it coming. I'm not talking to the church. We're gone before this junk happens. Okay, I'm talking to those. I gotta talk to two different people on these videos. I really hope that once we leave, there's a remnant here that they'll still be able to get these videos somehow. And I kind of always do that, but I always kind of forget. Some people think I'm talking to the church. I'm not. I'm talking also to the ones that are left behind, the tribulation saints. So I do these videos two different ways. The church, you have nothing. You don't worry about this junk. You're leaving. We're going to be in heaven. But hopefully somebody will be able to pick this up soon after we're gone, when they're telling them the ET come and got us and we're eating Skittles or something up there in the big UFO, that people will be able to access these things before they scrub them, and hopefully Jesus will protect these videos. And the remnant that's left here that becomes the tribulation saints, they'll see these and they'll know what's happening. And they got to know as soon as the rapture happens and all this crap and all these people telling them this and that World War III is coming right on the back end of that. I don't know how far, but I think it's close that it will start, because the Antichrist will come in after World War III to pick up the pieces. So I do need to do a better job at that. Like I said, I ain't the greatest when it comes to these things. I look everywhere. I give you the news. I look at things that I know that's getting up to what we've seen, and that's what we bring forth to you, okay? Multiple reports Russian defense minister is in isolation and he's guarded. Putin to sack Paul Shogu after the Prigozhin revolt. This was the guy that Prigozhin was having a problem with. He was saying Russia was taking too little time and they want to nuke Ukraine and be done with it. That's why I've said people was cheering the Wagner group, and the Wagner group is not good guys. These are evil tyrants. And they was cheering these guys, and all these guys want to do was nuke Ukraine. They don't want to have peace. People just don't know what they're talking about or the background of these people. You know, Putin's the only one that's actually had any mind to not use nuclear weapons at this point. But the people under him are getting aggravated because he's not using them. And Prigozhin was one of them. He wanted to use nuclear weapons, end the war, and be done with it. So, you know, you got to realize there's no good guys over there. Ukraine's not good guys. Russia's not good guys. Not the people. We're not talking about the people. Our brothers and sisters are good people. But their governments are just like all these other governments. They're beyond corrupt. And that's all this is. It's a play for power, people. It's happening all over the world because we're at the end of time. Man's time, a lot of time, is over. Satan knows he's only got so many more years, and it's over for him. He's scrambling, getting everything ready. People's like, well, the Antichrist he's not here. He's here. He can't be revealed until we're leaving. Why do you think all this stuff's happening? Why do you think somebody's trying to get them to push the nuclear button? It's him. If he can push that button, it pulls us out of here, and then he can be revealed. He wants to be revealed, but he can't until we're gone. The restrainer is keeping him underground. But he's here. He's been here for a while. If you think that pandemic was man, you're insane. He's been here masterminding all this. He's setting up his kingdom. He don't know he's the Antichrist yet, but he already knows. He's already welcomed it, okay? The Antichrist spirit has always been here. People don't read their Bible. I see a lot of these comments, and I don't even try it even because they've never read a Bible. The Antichrist spirit's always been here. This guy knows he's going to be the Antichrist. He wants it. That's what the Spirit tells me. He knows he's going to be the one. And they know because he is willing it to him. And he's behind the scenes setting all this stuff up because he knows he's going to get it. But they got to get us out of here before that happens. That's why you see all these strange things, and you're like, why is all this happening? Because what he's doing. He's trying to get us pulled out of here so he can come out of hiding and try to take over the world because he's only got so much time. Okay? Understand. He is here 1,000%. And he's welcoming that spirit to come to him. He knows. He wants it. He's been asking for it for a while. He's been, even what the Spirit's telling me, he's been prepped for it. Okay? You don't know what's happening underground. If you did, you probably wouldn't sleep at night. But I tell you not to fear. But let me tell you something. There's some evil stuff going on under your feet that you don't have a clue. If you did, you would know. Everybody in the United States would be on their knees praying to God. That's how bad it is underground. Once we leave, all that evil comes up. What do you think all these kids disappear to? Really, people? There's a lot going on. A lot underground. And it comes up once we go up. It says, after the alleged rebellion by Wagner PMC leader Prigozhin, which was allegedly done because of treachery within the Russian Ministry of Defense, Russian Defense Minister Shoigu is reportedly in isolation and he is being guarded. Sources claim that the Military Investigation Directorate of Russia's Strategic Missile Forces integrated Sergei Daksko, who is the head of the DMZ, was responsible for the development and production of the UAVs and the Moscow KH-22, KH-55 missiles for almost 10 years. Sources says that Daksko, who has been given Marchukov, the bankruptcy trustee of the Military of Defense, a bribe in the form of an apartment for turning a blind eye to the theft in the Moscow region. The investigation, which already began with a banal bribe for employment in the Ministry of Defense, has now resulted in a large-scale thefts of Shoigu's main project, the National Center for State Defense Management. At the same time, a small investigation department for missile forces has been incredible, and it's not clear what heights the investigation are allowed to reach. Apartments and the other expensive gifts were, so to speak, thanks to Markov, and Markov had to put up with objects, complexes, and obvious traces of not the best condition in the gigantic thefts on the way from above. The list of alleged defendants being investigated in this case is impressive. Former commander of Division 3 of Separate Air Defense Army Missile Attack Warning System, former Deputy General Director of Missile Attack Warning Systems, head of Department of Military Representation of the Ministry of Defense, former head of something, former Deputy Minister of Defense, and then it's not as far to Shoigu anymore. If these sources are accurate, we are talking about a large group of representatives of the Ministry of Defense who led both the development of missile attack warning systems and the development of missiles and UAVs. A separate case is the favorite idea that Shoigu. The project was announced as a simple center of managing all sorts of things, from boiler rooms that heat barracks to rockets. In fact, it turned out to be just a huge office. Since 2004, the budget for design of the equipment of the center has been constantly increasing, and the amount of household expenses have been exceeding 40 billion rubles, which, however, did not bring the desired effect, but only brought beautiful sofas, armchairs, TVs, and computers for fabulous money, bought several times higher than the market value. If the alleged investigations are true, then it would seem, at least on the surface, that Prigozhin's claims of treachery and corruption befuddling the MOD may have been true. Perhaps that is why the supplies of logistics to the Russian forces in Ukraine seem to have been bogged down, making the fighting more ineffective. So in other words, their military is corrupt, which we've known that for years. Russia's military is very corrupt. The oligarchs are all for themselves, and what they've been doing is taking the money that they were supposed to be in for defense and spend it on themselves. That's why it's a very corrupt. Ukraine's the same way. A lot of corrupt politics in Ukraine. Money, it's like, okay, for instance, we're sending Ukraine tons of money. A lot of that money, some of that money actually showed up in Prigozhin's bags. Almost $1 million in cash. Where'd that come from? Also, weapons we've been sending are showing up in Mexico. So, sold on the black market. So, I mean, you're talking about very corrupt places. These are not places you can just send stuff and not monitor it. We're talking about very corrupt places, especially in Russia. It's as corrupt there as it is Ukraine. So, it's a mess. And I think now they're figuring out what Prigozhin was talking about. And that's not a good thing, because if you can get all those people out of the way and get the confusion out, Russia will start to really ramp up what they're doing. And they do before we get out of here. They start ramping up. We leave. They take, I don't know if they take the the western part of it. Go from, if you get a map, I'll tell you what I saw and others have seen. Go from Kyiv. There is a river that goes down all the way down the middle of Kyiv, all the way down past Odessa, okay? It goes right down the middle, kind of like a cup. All that area Russia takes in this big offensive. Them, Belarus, and Lord only knows who else. They either have North Korea there, China, but they go in there and they mass a massive army and they take that, okay? We don't know when that happens. I don't think it's long that they make this move. Once they get themselves in order and figure out what is slowing them down, I think that's when it's going to happen. We leave either right after that, because that's when the World War III really starts to go out of control, or we leave before that. I'm leaning more that we leave before that ever happens, and the ones that are left behind will see that and know that as soon as that happens, the nuclear war is right after it. So if you're a tribulation saint and you actually see this video, if they mass their army and they take all of Kyiv and all the way down to that river, all the way down to Odessa, know that World War III happens right after. I mean, it's exactly right after that. That's when the missiles start flying all over the world. Okay? That we know for a fact. 100%. I mean, too many of us have seen the same thing. So, when that event happens, if you're the left behind and you're seeing this video, as soon as this offensive happens, the nuclear war is hours away from happening. And there won't be many safe places to be. Now, what we've decided to do is try to give you a list of what we saw between me, Brother Philip, Brother Martin, Bonnie, and others, of the states that we saw that was destroyed in World War III. So maybe just the thought of, if you're left behind, it's not for the church. Church will be gone. This is for the ones that are left behind, that they would know where to go. Now, we know for a fact West Virginia and Kentucky was not hit. There will be fallout here. But these two areas are safe. They won't be not hit by nuclear missiles. They are not hit. I know that. And like I said, you've got 14 days to 15 days before the radiation blows out, because the wind blows it from the west to the east. So that's going to blow it out into the ocean, and you still won't be able to plant anything. The water will be toxic, stuff like that. Even your well water will be toxic. That'll be the hardest thing once we leave, is them finding fresh water if they don't have bottled water. That's going to be their biggest problem, is finding portable water that's clean. Any water outside you'll not be able to use. You won't be able to grow gardens. Which in the tribulation, once we leave, you're not going to have a chance to grow anything. You're going to be on the run. Because then they're going to pay people. People's going to need water, okay? They're going to need food, and they're going to need medicine. They will take the mark to get those things. And they will even people you thought was your best friend will turn on you. Because they're going to be dying of thirst, hunger, and they need medication. That's why the tribulation is so hard. on people. The people that's actually, God has showed them the tribulation. That's why it's so hard. That's why I tell you, if you can get on that rapture boat, get on the rapture boat, okay? Because you don't want to be here. It's just, like I said, it's for the non-believers, the ones that do not believe in Jesus. It's also for Israel. And Israel does give itself, and there's millions and millions on top of millions of people will be saved. They're called the tribulation saints after we leave, okay? So, that's why I always tell you to make sure that you have notes there. I think they're probably the best thing is on paper. I'm hoping that they'll have some access to these videos, that God somehow gets it to them. Because I hope there's still electricity. We did see an EMP, but we don't know if that EMP was caused by the rapture or what. But we know that for somehow, and I did see when the EMP, whatever it does, the rapture does happen right after it. Because it's quiet. You can't hear nothing. You don't hear cars anymore. All that background noise is gone. And then the rapture, the circle opens up in the sky, and we go. So that is a sign of the rapture, definitely. When there's no power, it's so quiet, that means we're going. It's going to happen shortly after that. So all we do now is wait, try to get as many people on the boat as possible. That's all we can do at this point. We see all the stuff happening. That's why I keep bringing it to you. I was just talking to Gator 111. He's never seen storms like this down in the south. People have been telling me I've never seen hell like this in my life, and I haven't. I mean, it's raining hell like it's nothing. The earthquakes, everything. And I've always keep going back to that. Pride comes before the fall. I think Jesus was telling us something. It was a hint. This is the month of pride. They're celebrating pride and making fun of God and everything else. Pride comes before the fall. I think he's gave us plenty of little hints. If you know them, there's nuggets all through the Bible. He's a good God, and he's gave us many hints that we're leaving. I know it's hard, and everybody wants to go home now. But I promise you, we ain't going to be here much longer. The earth's decaying faster than I can even do a video. Used to be when I first started this, there was never new news on the weekend. I had to wait till Monday. 7 days a week now. It's nonstop. That means the birth pains have grown and grown and grown and grown. I love each and every one of you. I know I don't tell you enough. I thank each and every one of you. Even if you don't like me, can't stand me being on here, I still love you. You're still my brothers and sisters, and I want to spend eternity with you. So I always tell you, when you get to heaven, look me up. We'll grow stuff together. We'll have a good old time. I love each and every one of you. You're my brothers and sisters. Even though if you don't agree with me, can't stand me, whatever, I still love you. I'm not one of those channels that's going to, can't stand you or anything like that. I love you. I hope everybody makes it out of here. And I know a lot of them ain't. A lot of them will not listen. But I don't wish anybody to be left here. That's something I don't. I wish everybody to be in the rapture. I don't want anybody to have to go through the 7-year tribulation, but a lot of them will. And my prayer is God will protect them. And a lot of them make it. And that's a good thing because the Bible tells us so. I love each and every one of you. I'm trying to dodge storms. I keep hearing the thunder. I'm getting warnings over the thing. So I want to try to get off here and get this video out to you guys. I love each and every one of you. If I don't see or hear from you again, I'll see you in heaven.